Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm here with something a little different for you, a little special treat. This is Demon Ship. This is by Blacksite Studios. It was designed by a guy who goes by Malev. Now, what we're looking at here is two pieces of it, okay? So this is the game in and of itself, but it doesn't include all of what you're seeing here. Actually, it doesn't include most of what you're seeing here. There's two portions to this game. There is the actual box piece itself, and that comes with the rule book, some tokens, and 5 miniatures. That's it. Everything else that you're seeing here is a separate terrain piece that you can get. Now, I've called this game like an excellent mess, and it really is, because the terrain pieces and the concept behind this game are phenomenal. I absolutely love the idea that they've got going on here. Okay, so if you don't know, this is our board. Okay, all these little pieces come off. Okay. So you can arrange your board in a multitude of different ways. These are MDF pieces, which while we're talking about the MDF pieces, they are laser cut, which you can tell by the soot marks all over them. I would absolutely recommend using a marker to edge out on these. Get something like this, like a brown permanent marker, and come across the top, because if you don't, they're going to look like this. You see how there's all these little notches from where it was kind of punched out? That's the way this is supposed to look. But by using a marker coming across the top, I was able to take most of that off. It just gives it a cleaner look. So you can use a black or a real dark gray, or preferably brown. It matches the colors that you've got going on here, and just hit all these edges. It really cleans up the look a lot. But the game itself takes place on this board, which, while we're talking about this board right here, see if I can get it to pull out. Oh, come on, pull you. You're stuck. Oh, tell me it didn't glue on me. Here we go. Took me a second, it gotten a little snicked in there, but this is a shelf that you can pull out. So this box effectively holds the game once you're done with it. You can put all these pieces into the terrain box itself, and that gives you storage. But again, what I'm talking about here, all this neat stuff, the barrels, the doors, the crates, the wall pieces, consoles that even have little moving pieces here. That's kind of neat. Although I want to put something on here, something metallic, maybe some metallic paint and something on here to make this stand out, because the console is kind of dull without that. But all of that is separate. That's a separate terrain piece. Now, Demon Ship itself costs $40. Okay, $40, and for that you get these minis, this rule book. Let's push that rule book forward a little bit, and a small amount of tokens. That's $40, roughly half the cost. If you get this and the terrain piece, you're going to look at about 100 roughly, depending. I can't remember exactly what I paid on the site, but it was in that ballpark. So let's use 100 for round numbers. So roughly 40% of the game cost is this, and that's too much. I'm sorry, but a small ass rule book that is not well written and 5 miniatures and a few tokens is not worth what they're charging for. Now, yes, this is technically the whole game, because here in the back, they have the ability to print out the pieces. So you could scan this and put it on some card stock, something like that, and effectively create it. So the 1x3 walls, the 1x2 wall, the 1x1 wall, barrels, crates, console, doors, all that good stuff. You can create all of this. But what really makes this game look good is this big ass terrain piece here that changes, because the concept of the game is that as your little hero character here, right? So this is the hero character, and I've painted these. They do come unpainted, but I went ahead and got them painted up for use here. But your little hero character will go room to room, and there's 6 rooms. Well, technically there's the 12 rooms. There are 6 types of rooms, and then most of them have an A and B side. Yeah, so there's technically 12 rooms in the rulebook. If you want to be specific about it, there's 6 types of rooms. So you've got like a corridor, a nav room, an engine room, storage room, but you have A and B configuration. So if you roll to get a corridor, then you know, that's 1 on a D6. If you roll the 1, then you roll again. If it's 1, 2, 3, then it's A. If it's 4, 5, 6, then it's going to be B. So you've got that, right? You've got multitudes of ways that you can put it together. And if really speaking, you know, this is something that would be ripe for downloads, right? For going on to BGG and seeing about people who create their own scenarios and the like to use this, because the components here, the actual terrain pieces, are phenomenal. They are just so good, and they look so good on the table, and you just want to use this because it looks so cool having these pieces here. But that's really where the good part of this game ends. And here's the thing: I've watched a bunch of videos of people playing this game, and all of them, I was seeing the same thing, and that same thing was people buried in the rule book trying to figure out exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm sorry, but this needed much more design time. It's just not clear, at least not the way it's written. I didn't see any errata files yet on the BGG site. There might be some now. Maybe they've been added. I'll have to double check afterwards. The general gist of that, though, is that the rules just don't flow. They don't flow intuitively. And with a game of this size, it's about the size of my hand, you would really think this game's just going to flow from one thing to the next, and that you'll just pop, right? And you won't have to spend a whole lot of time in the rule book looking things up. So if you've noticed, there's a component missing that you would expect to have for a game like this, right? Look, what do you see? We got tokens, we got little terrain pieces, we got minis. Now, it doesn't come with dice, which they say you need to grab your own D6 to use. And again, I'm kind of like, really? You're charging $40 for a game this size, and it's only got a few minis in it, and that's pretty much it. We're not talking a lot of tokens here that come with the game, and the rule book isn't that big. The majority of the cost is the minis, and I understand minis can be costly to produce. However, that's on the publisher. That's not on the consumer. They're really not getting dollars to donuts in value here. So we don't have D6s. No dice are included. It's the modern day. I can overlook that, considering people have their phones. There's apps you can use to roll dice, and everyone who's a gamer is going to have a buttload of dice lying around. So the dice thing is not that big of a deal. But there's something else. There is no reference sheet to come with this. Now, yes, there is one that you can now download off of BGG, but why was that not included in the base game? There should be a reference sheet about this size, fit with the box, double-sided, that has the information on it for this. You're telling me that one piece of cardstock that big was too much to be added to it? I shouldn't have to take the steps of creating my own player aid to add to the game, which is what I had to do. And the thing of it is since I had to print it off, it prints off as a whole sheet. So, that's the top of it. And then the bottom of it, I cut into thirds to have all the pieces there with each other. And I did that so I can actually fit it in the box when I'm done with it. Okay. It would be a full sheet. I didn't want to fold it up. I put it on some cardstock so it'd be firm, but I had to print out and cut out my own player aid and then cut it to size. So some of the information isn't really where it needs to be. Like, demon stuff is here, but then it's also here because I'm having to jerry-rig this to fit into the box that's excellent. The terrain itself is excellent, but there's no custom player aid that should fit in this box. Honestly, I think you just screwed the pooch trying to sell this as a game that doesn't have the MDF components here, because this is MDF terrain. And he sells a lot, the Black Site Studios rather, they sell a lot of other types of terrain pieces, and they are great. The terrain pieces are really cool. And I haven't even mentioned the fact that magnets are included with this terrain set because you can magnetize. That's what the hole there is in the bottom of all of these pieces. Perfect magnets to fit right in there and in the bottom of this so that they will connect, like they will actually slot onto the board using magnetism. They've taken so many steps to get it to this being so excellent that why would they ever sell this game as two pieces? It's just not that good of an idea. This would be better off put together. You could probably cut down some of the costs and just do it that way, because playing Demon Ship without this cool ass terrain takes away from it so much that it's not worth playing. And the rules are so bad as they are that there's really no reason to get into it. Demon Ship alone is not worth the price of admission. Demon Ship with all the terrain pieces, now that's a different story. That's where we're hitting something where that can be worth the price of admission. And to be honest with you, I'm probably going to just try to come up with my own rules for the game, because I don't like their rules right now as they are. Let me take these pieces off and let's play just a little bit of it. I'm going to leave the corridor set up because that's already what I set up for. I've been playing a little bit off camera. So you'll roll your D6. And again, you can't ever not have this rule book right next to you because there's so much information in it. There's no player aid to get this information from, right? How the rooms go together. A player aid with just these diagrams on it would be all that was needed for the 6 areas. So you got the corridor, armory, nav something, let's see, nav bridge, gate pod, engine room, cryo, 6 different types of areas, and then A and B for each of the different sides. Great, cool. You roll 1d6, like I said, get a 1, and then you roll, see if it's A or B. Or you can decide to play your game as I'm playing through an A version of the game and just roll the D6 once, and if it rolls whatever it rolls, then you just get the A version or the B version. So you have to set this up, right? Here's your little diagram, blots it out, tells you where the little doors go, because you got door 1, door 2, 1-1 wall, 1-3 wall, 1-2 wall, 1-3 wall, crates, barrels that get spawned in. And those can be rolled upon to determine whether or not they come in. But that's where we need that little player aid, right, for it. And you'll notice I had to add little, hey, just so you know, bud, onto my player aid in my crappy ass handwriting. Now this I did because this I had to cut apart. But I had to put notes onto my player aid so I could remember certain things, like this. If you do a move and a blitz as the survivor, because I'm a survivor, I ain't gonna give up. Sorry, I couldn't help it. If you blitz through enemies, you can move through enemies, but you have to roll a d6 for each one of them. And here's something kind of funny. You can hardly read my writing, but for each demon that you move through, you got to roll a d6. On a roll of 1, you take 1 damage. And on a roll of a 6, you bank a dodge, right? You gain that. And there's this thing where you can get triple sixes. You go on a rampage and get more actions. So I'm intuiting here that 2, 3, 4, and 5 just do nothing. So no damage and no dodge bank. It doesn't specify that. It doesn't clear that up. It's just one of the things that I noticed. And again, don't take me in my word at this. Go watch some of the other videos that are up of Demon Ship right now. And you'll see the same thing. When people are doing stuff, a lot of times they're trying to figure out if they're doing it right. If they are supposed to do something like, when do you spawn demons? Bits and pieces of that information are kind of spread throughout the rule book, and it's not really clarified to the point that you would want it to be clarified to help you kind of understand how it's going to work, right? And then there's the thing that the demons take multiple different types of actions. They have their actual actions, but then they have mirror actions. But when the demons are doing their actions, resolving actions with demons, if they can't do a specific type of action, they'll just do a step down. But with mirror actions, they don't do that. But it doesn't really come out and say that they don't do that. That's something I picked up in watching someone else's videos. That's why I'm saying this is a beautiful mess. It's like there's this great game here, this wonderful thing that can be enjoyed, but it needed to stay in the oven for about 5 more freaking minutes to really flesh it out to that next level and cut the cost down to make it affordable. And one of the things that drives me nuts is you start here on the doors, right? And that's where the Survivor starts. But the Survivor's Mini, which is a small base mini, doesn't really fit that well. I mean, you can use your own minis if you want. You don't have to use these. But their minis are actually quite nice. They're very good minis. I like the mechanical, biological look of the aliens. The hero Survivor dude's got this Doom guy look to him. So cool. Anyway, let me show some of the gameplay in action so you guys can kind of get a feel for it. Now, I've got something I'm using, a little dial I made on my 3D printer here to keep track of it. You are going to start at a level 3 at what they call your pulse rate. So it's like your heartbeat. Now, here's what's kind of funny, is it's not that it ticks down. So it's not when it hits 0 that you die. It's when it hits 7. So as you take damage here, you actually tick that up. But that also increases the amount of dice that you roll, because you don't just get actions. You have to roll to see who gets the actions. Because if you roll D6s and it's 1, 2, or 3, the demons get the actions. If it's 4, 5, 6, then you get the actions, which is a mechanic that I don't like. I understand the premise behind it, what they're going for, which is randomization, not being able to guarantee what you're going to have. Think of HeroScape, right? In HeroScape, there's rules, generally speaking, that you roll a couple of D6 to determine how far you're going to move, depending on character and whatnot. But you'll roll dice to see how far you move. They have that set up to where you can either do the dice rolls or just do a flat set maneuver or movement for every character. But they have that D6 roll in there to give you that random factor. Like, am I going to move far enough to get to the door, to get the gargoyle, and to kill him and get the treasure? Yay, and all that good stuff. I kind of think that's what they were going for here, but it doesn't really feel right, especially considering the fact that the demons go first. They get their actions. Then you do your actions, and then the demons do their mirror actions. So it's like this demon action sandwich, which feels too much. It feels like it's a bit too much. Honestly, if you feel like the game's too hard, I would take out the mirror actions, the third set. But let's... I keep ranting and not actually showing. So let's just show. Here's the thing. I rolled D6. I got the corridor. We've set up the corridor. Roll D6 to determine what stuff spawned. I went ahead and throw that on there, but you will roll to determine if and how many things like barrels and crates show up. Because you can shoot barrels to cause them to explode and cause fire. Yay. And you can search crates to get things like equipment, like grenades, drinks, and armor. That's something that's kind of interesting too, because What would you think armor plate would do? Armor plate would give you things like evasion tokens or, armor to stop hits. No, use it to reduce the pulse rate by 2 to a minimum of 3. Effectively, armor plate is a med kit. He would have been better off just calling it a med kit. That would make more thematic sense than this armor plate business. Both work thematically. It's just like it doesn't work here. Armor plate should give you a resistance against the attacks, not reduce your pulse rate. That should be a med kit. Anyway, that's me harping. All right, so that's our room phase. We set up our room. Now we've got to do the wits phase. Now, it's not really explained in the correct spot here. Let's see. All right, so here's the thing. After you do your room phase, you go to wits phase where your actions are. And I could have swore I probably read this in here somewhere, but I can't remember. And I think it's just this one rule that's trying to cover all of it, which doesn't make sense. Because I was digging through the rule book trying to figure out, like, okay, well, how do demons spawn in the game? Because the rooms here, I need to, like, spawn demons. Well, there's going to be a demon spawn when you set up the room, I believe. I've looked, I can't find that rule again, but we're going with it anyway just to put some demons on the board. But I do believe that when you set up the room, you're going to have a demon spawn thing. So when it comes to demon spawning, there's a spawn style. Now, this didn't make sense to me when I first read it. And I know it didn't make sense to others because they were making the same mistakes that I was making. It's like, okay, well, you're saying there's a spawn style, but how do I know what style a demon's going to be in? And the way that I've understood this now is that you're just going to roll a d6, and unless you roll a 1, then you're just going to do whatever it says. Okay? So, like, if we got a 2 to a 3, we're just going to get demons, which means prowl spawn 2 blade demons. At first, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so how do I know if I'm in prowl or hunt? Basically, what that means is you're going to spawn 2 blade demons in prowl and 1 gun demon in a hunt. Prowl means spawn within 4 spaces out of line of sight if possible, including wall spaces. Hunt means spawn in furthest space within line of sight. And then ambush is spawn adjacent or as close as possible. That's for everything there. So let's roll 1 and see what happens. All right, we got a 6. A 6 for us means take cover. We're going to spawn a frog demon, which is one of these fellas right here. These things are actually pretty cool. I like this big gun on the front of it, little hoppy, boom, boom, boom. And it's going to spawn in prowl. So within 4 spaces out of line of sight as possible. You can do diagonals here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to be behind this wall, back over yonder near the door. And then we are going to spawn a gun demon in hunt, which means furthest space within line of sight, which will be here. He cannot spawn on top of the crate. All right, so we have no blade demons. That's what these guys are. There's blade demons and whatnot. And you're probably going, well, what weapon do you have? It doesn't say. It doesn't say gun. It doesn't say blade. It doesn't say whatever. Although, as a hero, you can do multiple different types of actions. You can do hand-to-hand. You can shoot. You can shoot up to any range. Doesn't matter. All right, so here's the deal. Since we're in the wits phase now, doing this stuff, I have a starting pulse of 3. My heart rate is 3, which means I roll 3 dice. And depending on what those dice are is going to determine what the demons and I do. So let's turn this a little bit so we can see a little better. A little froggy demon back there, and we'll roll our die. All right, so that's actually pretty good for us. What this means is there is 1 action for the demons and 2 actions for moi. And now depending on what this dice roll is going to determine what they do, okay? Roll of a 1 means that they are going to attack, right? And it's going to be determined based on the type of demon. Roll of a 2 means they move. Roll of 3 means they gain evade. And you work highest to lowest. So 3, 2, 1. Unfortunately, they've only got 1. That means they are going to attack. They are going to attempt to attack my survivor here. It will be the closest. It will be the gun demon. So here's something I'm not 100% sure on, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Is the start of the game, the ship that you're on is considered to be dark because you haven't cut the power on. That's the first thing that you're trying to do when you're trying to go to the engine room. And flip the little console thing there, which means the survivor only has a line of sight of 2. I don't believe this applies to the demon, so it means this demon should be able to shoot me, which he will do. And we look at our gun demon. If the gun demon is adjacent to the survivor, 2 damage is dealt during its attack action. Way, well, it's not going to matter. Gun demons have a health of 3, movement of 2, and an RD. I'm gonna range damage of 1. I had to think about what that one is. Basically, he doesn't have to roll anything. Okay? He's just going to conduct the attack. I do get to roll to try to evade, try to dodge this. Now, what I would do is hold your dice to the side, the ones that you rolled for the pulse actions, because you want to know what you rolled on those so you can keep track of this for the mirror actions. So let's roll different die and see if my survivor dodges. He does. Got a 6. Means he dodged. And since this was a dodge, I get to bank that. When I get 3 of those, if I haven't moved into another room, I have to be in the same room. So this is while I'm still in this little corridor, I could use those to go on a rampage and do 3 actions immediately. If I leave this corridor, I lose those. Anytime you move to a new room, you lose that. Now, they've done their action, so they're done with that die. Don't have to worry about that one now. This is for me. I can do any number of actions that I want, but depending again on what I do, the demon will have a mirror action, okay? So it shows you demon attack, demon move, evade, just depending on what I do. They're going to mirror me. Considering that does line up to their actions, my idea to help keep track of that is as you use your own pulse dice, right, your action dice, is to turn them to a 1, 2, or 3 so you remember that for the mirror phase. I want to try to kill this fella, and I can do that in a couple of different ways. I can either just move forward and shoot him, or I can shoot this barrel and cause it to explode, which would cause him to go on fire, but that's only caused 1 damage to him, which won't be enough to kill him. So I'm going to have to do something else. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way I can kill him now. If it wasn't dark, I could go ahead and just shoot twice and get him. And I would just get him outright. Don't have to roll or anything when you're conducting your attack. You just set your dice aside for mirror actions. Unfortunately, I can't do that because of the range thing. So here's what we will do. I will move forward by using 1 action, and this gives them a move. And a move is a 2. So let's turn this to a 2 for them, for their mirror action. And then I will conduct an attack, which is a 1 for them. And it is done in a specific order. Okay? So you have to keep these in order because the order that you do them matters. That means that the enemy is going to move, then attack. Conduct my attack. The gun demon takes 2 damage, which unfortunately is not enough to kill him because he has an HP of 3. So we'll put a couple of these little wound markers next to him. That completes out my action phase. Now we do the mirror phase. They move, and it's going to be the closest. He got a bonus, right? He's going to move up, and then he's going to conduct his attack to the survivor. Okay. His attack action increases in damage when he is attacking me. So he's conducting his attack now, which is now 2 damage instead of 1 since he is adjacent to me. So now I have to roll again to see if I dodge this one. Another 6 would actually be really good here. Nope, got a 4, but I did dodge it. Yay, rock on me. So that actually finishes us out. That's a round. That's a round. Right there is what you've seen is a round. Let's play through one more, let you guys see how it goes. I was hoping I would actually take damage so you guys could see how it is affected by your damage. Because like I said, my pulse goes up. So let's say he had hit me with that attack that did 2 damage. I would have bumped up my pulse to 5 and I would have rolled 5 dice, which means, yes, there's a chance that I'm doing more actions, but there's also a chance that the demons are doing more actions. So the lower your pulse rate, the less dice you roll, the less actions that everyone gets, you and enemy. There's still demons on the board, so I don't have to worry about a spawn. So we go back to the wits phase, so I just get to roll again. And oh, come on. Of course it is. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. This means he is going to gain an evade token, which means I have to do 2 damage to kill him because he's going to evade 1 damage with that. That's his 3. He doesn't have to move, so the other demon will attempt to move. He will scoot up here so he can conduct an attack later on. That takes care of that die. And now he will attack me again for his last action, the close one, because he can do 2 damage to me. So now I roll to dodge. And I still dodge it, so I am good. Unfortunately, I didn't have any actions. Nothing. I didn't get to do anything. So now we just go on straight to the final, or not final, but the next round. Let's run one more real quick. While we're doing this, no mirror actions to do because I did nothing. So here we go. Of course, a 2 and a 1. Good grief. All right, so I got 1 action. They again got 2. A move, which they don't need to do because he's got line of sight and range. Let's see. Frog Demon, HP 2, move 4, range damage 2. If it evades, it gains 2 tokens. All right, but since his special is he gets extra evasion. But the thing is, he's within range. They both have line of sight on me. As you can see, Frog Demon there, him there, which means we'll tick that down and both of them get to attack. So he's getting to attack and he's getting to attack. They both have a chance of doing 2 damage, so it doesn't matter. I roll both dice to see what damage they do. Do I dodge? Do I dodge? I dodge both and I go on a rampage. Yay! Look at that. God, that was a good roll. That actually worked out pretty well. I take the banked one and I get to go on my little rampage now. Now, the cool part about these 6s is that they do not bank for them. They do not get to do mirror action. So whatever I do now, I'm just flat out doing. Sure, I will do a bash or blast to him, whatever. Doesn't matter. His evasion token will take care of one of it, but that will do 2 damage, which means it will be enough to kill the gun demon. Perfect. So after that, I don't have range on him, unfortunately. Damn, I wish he was 1 forward. And let's go like this. Actually, let's do it this way, because this will be better. I will do a blitz action, move up to 3 spaces, and I can move through a demon. So 1, 2, 3 diagonally through him, and I just have to roll a single die and hopefully not roll a 1. Actually, I rolled a 6, which means I get to bank it again. Perfect. And now my last 6 will be spent making an attack on him, which will kill him because he doesn't have any evasion tokens. I do not have to roll for them evading. Perfect. And now I've got 1 action token left that I actually get to spend. And to make this easy on myself, we're going to use it to do 3 movement and go 1, 2, 3, yay! And he jumps out and I actually flee to the next room. Strangely enough, I did not take any damage in my taking of that room, or my running through that room through all the demons, but I got lucky with the 6s. That's the gist of how you're going to play Demonship. Thing is, you're going to keep going through until you do three things. And the three things are all the same thing. It doesn't really matter. You're going to go to the engineering area and flip the switch to cut on the power. And then you're going to go to, which one is it? Navigation or something. Yeah. So you go through the power stage, the emergency stage, and then the escape stage. So power stage is to get to engineering and cut that on. The emergency stage is to restore function to the consoles, and they have to fight their way to the nav bridge and engage emergency evacuation protocols by flipping the switch, and then go to the countdown the countdown begins, and you have to find the escape room so you can hit the escape pod by flicking a switch and leaving. So the special rooms, you've got the escape pod bay, the nav bridge, and then engineering. So 4, 5, and 6 are the special rooms when you're rolling your D6s to determine whether or not you got to them. The good part is there is an extra bonus rule in there that, let's say, okay, I'm in the corridor, right? And I want to get to number 4, the engine room. And you could end up in a rut where you just never roll the engine room. And you keep fighting through room after room after room, trying to find the engine room, and you never get there. They do have that bonus in there that, let's say I'm in the corridor now, which is 1 on the D6. If I roll for my next room and it's a 1 or a 4, both of those will cause the engine room to pop up. So essentially what it is that if you roll the same room that you're in, you also get whatever objective room you're in. So it kind of increases your chances of getting that objective room. All right, so that's the basics, but there's really not much more to the game than I'm showing you here. It's literally just trying to get to those objectives and get out. It's Dead Cells, right? It's a roguelite game, that type of mentality. That the game's going to play relatively quick. You're going to go on some runs where you'll do well and you'll gain some supplies and you'll do good, and maybe you'll succeed or maybe you'll die right before the end of it, whatever it is. And then you'll go on some runs where you don't even escape the first room and the first demon chops you into bits and you have to restart. Because that first area, when I was like this, and that gun demon was there, that easily could have gone the other way. And if he had hit me when he was rolling those dice, or when I was rolling for dodging, when he was attacking me adjacent, he could have easily 2 hits, boom, I'm done. Because, like I said, you start at 3, and once you hit 7, that's it. You're done. 7 is dead. It only takes effectively 4 wounds for your survivor to be gone. And that can happen very, very, very quickly in this game. It really is up to the dice gods. All right, so I started giving Demonships a lot of hell for its rules, and I still give it hell over its rules because it doesn't feel well written. It feels janky. I shouldn't have to be watching a bunch of videos and reading up on BGG and going through forums and looking through errata to figure a game out. You should be a lot closer to done when you're to this stage. All right. And it's not that they're bad. It's hard to describe. It's just not easy. It doesn't flow smoothly. Like calling these pulses instead of just being like actions, and instead of just calling it health, or so much of it is convoluted that doesn't need to be convoluted, that it ends up hurting the game. And again, I have to go back to what I think is the strongest downside for this game is that I don't believe, and this is just me saying it, but I don't believe that this box is worth it. I think that these boxes are worth it. I would have rather seen all this just boxed together and just sold as it is, because what got me to want to get this game was seeing this room, this magnificent room here that changes, and I can turn it and I can twist it and I can make all the configurations, and it's so freaking awesome, man. God, I love that. It's cooler than hell. That is what makes this game. That is what's going to make me pull this game out and play it again. All this. Not the minis. I play with minis all the time. Not that the minis are bad, but I play with minis. This is what takes the game to the next level. This should have been done much more with it, right? More rooms, more configurations, just more here. Now, I think that they're coming out with another game that's similar in its ilk. Some type of C game, I believe it is, which I probably will not end up getting because Demonship just didn't sit that well with me. And oh, I forgot to mention, but the tokens over here, they don't really clarify in the rulebook what they're supposed to be. You can kind of guess, like, okay, that's probably an evasion token, and that's probably a wound token, but there's some of these things that I'm like, what's that? Is that a key card, or is that a duffel bag, and is that fire? I think that's fire. That looks like fire. I plan on using it as fire. There's cold, which makes sense. Darkness, which makes sense. But this, I'm like, okay, what is this? What down arrow? 2? What is 2? Like, what is that supposed to mean? What's that? I don't know what that is. None of that is in the rulebook. You can intuit most of it. Like I said, that's armor. I know what that is. Honestly, when I really come down to it, this is what I like. Because of this, I'd pull this game out and play through it again over and over and over again, just seeing if I could escape, because I'd have fun setting it up and trying to get to the different rooms and setting up the rooms. I think that's excellent. That's just great. But if it were just this part, right? Demonship itself, if it was for that, I wouldn't pull that out again. I just wouldn't. I don't think there's enough game there to warrant it. Sometimes the peripheral makes the game. Sometimes that peripheral brings it to the next level that just adds that next bit of enjoyment to it. And that's what this is. That's what this piece is. And just like Kev talks about when he talks about his favorite war game of all time, U-Boat, that game is defined by the big submarine miniature, right? That changes the feel of the game. If you didn't have that, if you just had some flat pieces of paper that you maybe move some tokens around on, that game wouldn't feel anywhere near the same. But since it's got a big U-boat there that you move crew members around on, and it's got a conning tower in the whole nine, and there's actual like wooden pieces that you can use to plot out courses and the like, it takes U-Boat to that next level and makes it a game worth playing. That's what this is. That's what all this map pieces is. Plus the fact that, like I said, there's going to be people who mod this and make games. They make new rules. They make new scenarios. I'd like to see people who come up with like some Nemesis rules, like using the Nemesis minis, new survivors, because I could use any other minis that I have as the survivor. Just come up with so many different ways to mod this into something even more than it is, because this is all right, but this is excellent. I love this idea of having this platform that's the room that I'm in that's going to change configuration like this as I go from room to room to room to room. That's demonship. That's what makes this game worth playing. So honestly, yeah, if you want to get demonship, you have to get demonship. You can't get just this, because just this is not going to hold your attention and make it worth playing. All of this together, all of this together is, okay, I'm there. And honestly, I'd probably house rule a lot of this shit and clean this up, all this stuff. But this, that takes it to that next level of being worth getting. But if you don't want to get this, you don't want to spend the money on this, because like I said, that's the most expensive part. That like 60% of the cost it was this. And this I thought was overpriced. This is priced $60 for what all you're getting. MDF costs a little bit. That's fine. I get that. That's cost reasonably. This is not. This all put together at like 80, that would be a better price personally, I think. I just do not believe this box, 5 freaking minis and a rule book and a few counters. Can't forget the counters. No dice, no player aid. There's just too much missing in the box for them to charge $40 for it. To give a comparison, Destiny's cost $40. Actually, I think I got it for less than that. And the amount of gameplay in that box is tremendous. Cards, tokens, dice, buttloads of those tiny little minis that I freaking love. That game costs the same as this game. And they're not even the same ballpark. So yeah, anyway, at the end of the day, Demonship is only worth it, in my opinion, if you are getting this. If you're getting this, then yeah, there's ways to expand this out that are going to make it worth having. But if you are wanting to cheap out and can't afford it, whatever the case may be, and you're thinking about just getting this, pass. Spend your money on Destinies or a different game, because this just is not worth it. This all together is worth it. Honestly, this should have never been split up. They should have had this all together to begin with. Decent player aid and a few D6 just thrown in for good measure, because you don't send your dice game without dice. The hell. I will add in there, though, before I finish out on this, that Blacksite Studios has more terrain, right? The MDF style terrain. And this is very quality. This is actually very nice. And I like this. So if you're interested in maybe getting some MDF terrain, they're worth checking out. Their stuff is nice. It's thick. It's sturdy. Hell, the inclusion of the magnets, and that's what gets me. How does this cost just a little bit more than this when it has all of these wooden pieces plus a huge stack of magnets that came with it? They boggle the price here. Bad. Just horribly bad. If they could have found a way to produce this at a better cost and combined it with this at like, if they got it like $70, damn, they couldn't have sold these fast enough. Anyway, I'm going to jump down from my soapbox. You guys pop down any questions you have down below. Make sure you hit subscribe, because I'm trying to hit big numbers before the end of the year. And y'all stay tuned, because as we approach the holidays, I will be doing some giveaways. So you guys stay tuned if you're interested in that. Y'all take care. I'll catch you in the next one.